Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun. This is our Before Season 1, Episode 6 reaction and review. We are now past the halfway point of this season, and I am here to say I feel like it is all coming together. I know what's going on. And okay, listen, I'm saying most of this, and something is just gonna, I don't know, if just like a magical fish is just gonna fly on the screen and just smack me upside the head like in some old John Oliver clip and tell me you are totally wrong, but I feel confident now.
That's good. I feel like we are getting more footing of where it could be going. I don't feel as confident as you, but I like your confidence. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say.
Okay, here's what I'll say. I feel like I know what's happened. I don't know where it's going. I'm still like totally, well, I'm like out in the woods by that lake house trying to figure out what's going on here. And I'm still completely lost. I'm probably going to get eaten by a bear or something along the way. But this was a really fascinating episode in a lot of ways. We had a lot of different characters we were looking at. The show really put out some de-aging technology for Billy Crystal and
Yes.
Judith Light. I know that some of that stuff can be a bit controversial. From what I understand, Billy was open to it, excited about the end result. I thought it looked pretty good, honestly, on screen.
It looked really good. I wasn't sure exactly what technology they used or how they did it, but I mean, it looked really good. It looked like young Billy Crystal. I was like, oh my goodness, this is really cool.
Yeah, they played all that really well. And I think most importantly, and I had this concern a few episodes ago that the show is moving at a little too glacial a pace. They are starting to ramp some things up here where we're starting to kind of understand the origins, maybe, of where all of this began.
Yeah, now we're getting more information on Benjamin, who he was to Lynn, that Eli actually knew him to some
Yeah.
degree. I mean, there was a lot of information that was given in this episode. I know that the show is a little bit slower in some ways, but because it's a psychological thriller, this is what I expect and this is what I like. I like a slow ride
Mhm.
when I'm getting into something like a psychological thriller like this. But now that we're in episode 6, things are starting to come together and they are starting to move a little bit faster.
Okay, well, we're going to move into everything within this episode, share some theories, but also be sure to hit that subscribe button because in addition to covering before here, we have some other great Apple TV Plus coverage. Very good time to have that streaming service
Yeah.
in between Silo, which is in the midst of season 2, and Bad Sisters, also in the midst of season 2. Both great shows with a lot of mysteries at their core. We love mysteries. We want you guys to love these mysteries too. So hit that subscribe button.
We are also covering Dune Prophecy over on our Patreon exclusively with video reviews every week over there. So if you want to join our Patreon, you can have access to those. Also, our past Penguin reviews are on there as well, along with Evil,
Yeah.
Criminal Minds. We always have exclusive videos over there for shows. And right now it is Dune. And we will have a link for you below if you want to join our Patreon. It really helps Matt and I here at the channel. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, let's talk about how Eli's not fired.
This is the most.
Bruh.
It's very funny that this show has a lot of really unbelievable and hard to explain things. That this may actually be the most unbelievable thing that Before has done so far this season.
Yeah, like when Eli was cutting into Noah's head and pulling out the worm, I was like, this could be happening. I could be believing this.
Yeah.
When Eli is sitting in a room with this whole medical team and the board, and everybody's like, oh my God, what are we going to do about this? I was like, he needs to just get fired. Oh, no, but you know, what he did worked, so you can stay? I was like, no way. I don't believe this for a second. I still think that he would be put on some sort of leave of absence.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be anywhere near Noah anymore. He certainly wouldn't be still his doctor anymore. He cut into Noah's head. It doesn't matter what the reason was, that it worked. None of that mattered. That is not something that you're allowed to do. So how do you still have a job, my guy?
It's kind of like we all collectively here make a decision to go and rob a bank. And after we rob this bank, everybody is standing and applauding, and they're all really, really happy that we robbed the bank. We still robbed the bank. We still broke the law, and there's no consequences. What Eli did, sure, it seems to have helped everybody. It seems to have solved the problem. Nobody is upset on the other side of this. Everybody's doing better. But he still cut into a child without really much of an explanation while holding an invisible fake worm that wasn't apparently there.
Yeah, that's the not okay, let's try to get past the fact that he cut into his head, which is like already a fireable offense.
Yeah.
That should just be the end of it. And also for his foster mother, she should just been like, no, you're off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to stay on. I get to choose what happens, and it ain't gonna be you. But like, let's even take that out of the equation. The fact that Eli was standing there holding with these forceps nothing and holding it in front of other doctors being like, look, look, look. To me, at that point, I'd be not believing what he said. He's sitting there at the table being like, yeah, you know, I needed to pull it out so that Noah felt like it was out of him. And but okay, cool. Then why are you showing it to me? Like, I should see something on these forceps that you don't have there. There's nothing there. Why are you showing it to me? Something is wrong with you.
Eli is clearly unwell, and there are people who are sort of asking these questions of like, are you okay? But you kind of have to do more than ask questions at this point. Like, you actually need to get this guy some measure of help. And I don't think anything on this show is going to change, and we're going to really get from point A to point B until Eli actually sits down and reconciles what's going on in his head.
Yeah, and speaking of point B, we've moved from worms to bees now. Like, it didn't actually help Noah. Noah actually seems worse now. Like, it's like, okay, so that worm is out of me, but now there's bees that are like flying around and going into my foster mom and going into her mouth and coming out her ears. I'm just like, nothing got fixed for Noah. This seems worse.
So all of this kind of goes into my current tinfoil hat explanation as to what exactly is going on.
All right, let's get that confidence going. What is going on?
Here we go, everybody.
I like confident Matt.
Confident Matt has been wrong a lot recently.
Hey, that's okay. Listen, it's all theories are welcome here at this point because nothing's been proven yet. So let's go, confident Matt.
Here's
tell me
what is happening. Okay, so when Lynn died, it opened a huge psychological wound for Eli, where basically everything that he had felt, everything he had repressed over the course of the time that he was in this relationship, it's all started to rush to the surface. That is the trigger point. And there are some really interesting clues of this throughout the episode, including if we're looking at Benjamin and some of what happened when Noah met Benjamin and went into the hospital. Benjamin was speaking Dutch, and there were these other obvious connections between Benjamin and Noah at that point that I'm sitting here and being like, well, why hasn't Eli mentioned this before? It's because he had blocked out a lot of the specifics about Benjamin because it was all sort of roped in to this trauma. But when Lynn died, everything is slowly starting to unravel with him, and he's starting to connect all these various points. But the unfortunate thing with him is that he is seeing a lot of this expressed in the form of Noah, which could be whether it's a representation of lost innocence, whether it's just there's something about Noah that reminds him of these specific entities in the past, or it may just be timing, the time in which Noah showed up, what he was dealing with in his mind, that Noah's the vessel for a lot of these things that are slowly starting to unravel, and he's going to experience more and more of them over time, remembering these things that happened, wait for it, before that he did not know were still in his head. And I think that's probably where we're going with the bees too, that the bees are also something that is linked to something that happened a long time, once again before, that he has forgotten about, but that Noah is bringing all of these traumas to light that he doesn't know exactly what to do with them. And that's where I kind of feel like I understand why this is happening and how this is happening. A lot of these things that are being expressed may not fully be there. However, trying to figure out how to stop it, I'm no psychiatrist. That's where I get lost in the woods.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely onto something, confident Matt. I
All
feel
right.
I feel like the fact that at sort of the beginning of this, when he's like, "Oh, here's this farmhouse picture. I don't know anything about it. There's a BW on the back." It's like, but you did know about it because we're seeing these flashbacks where Lynn explained when she brought Benjamin into the hospital and he's having this attack of whatever is happening to him with the worms and the Dutch, and we see Eli's just, a resident at that point, but he's the resident that's on staff, and he's getting explanation from Lynn. Oh, we were out here taking these pictures of these farmhouses. This is Benjamin. He's working on Benjamin. Benjamin is dying on his table, basically. He's, trying to help get him back. He's doing compressions. He does them too hard where he causes a bleed. He knew all this stuff.
Yeah.
But when we met him, he was acting like, I don't know where this picture came from. I don't know who BW is. It's like, but you do know that stuff.
Yeah.
So when we meet him, Lynn has already died. So as that's happened, he obviously has repressed a lot of what happened with Benjamin. And it might be because of how he met Lynn. Like, he's listening to the tapes and he's hearing her say, "I love you. Don't worry, Benjamin. We're going to get through this. Like, I'm going to help you." And he starts to really question how he met Lynn. That he met her for her bringing in Benjamin to be saved by Eli, a person that she loved. And the minute that they met, Lynn knew that Eli was her person. And even though it was such a traumatic experience that's happening, she's losing one person, but she's meeting the love of her life all at the same time. It's enough for Eli to suppress a lot of these memories that are all now coming up, like you said, because Lynn died.
I think everything else might just be an extension of this one central event. Now, if this theory holds true, it requires a lot of flip-flopping on my part to be like, okay, I no longer think necessarily that Lynn drowned in the pool, but there is still a very big question.
That still could have happened.
It still could have happened, and Lynn still could have died in a very different way than in the bathtub, and these are things that I'm still kind of wrestling with in my head, mostly just because, and this comes all the way back to the pilot, where we see basically Noah say, "I know what you did," to Eli. And that takes on another light then, if it's sort of that Noah is this conduit to all this trauma that Eli is trying to forget. Because then that means like, okay, well then Eli did do something that's not great that might be specifically tied to somebody.
Well, here's the thing about Noah, because all of the information that we're getting on the show is through Eli, and he's unreliable as a narrator.
Yeah.
He basically told us that he didn't know where that photo came from, and he lied. He does know where it came from. Like, he is suppressing so much that he's not being honest with himself, so he's not being honest with any of us. We can't really trust everything that he's saying. So the conversations that he's having with Noah, how much of it is Noah actually saying to him, and how much of it is Eli saying it to himself or having it come through Noah to himself? Like, I still feel like Eli is the person that's having sort of this conversion disorder and is putting it on Noah, and that he's then getting what he wants to hear or what he thinks he's hearing through Noah, but really it's just through himself.
I think what's exciting about this show and also confounding about it is because Eli is an unreliable narrator, and I think we're both fully in agreement on that at this point. It makes it really hard to look at any scene on this show and be like, okay, what's real, what's not real? Like, take, for example, we see Benjamin's brother in this episode where Eli goes and pays him a visit. They have this conversation. We learn a little bit about Benjamin, that Benjamin didn't necessarily have a lot of people in his life. But then there's this whole thing about this necklace and the similarities of this necklace to one that Eli remembers in the past. Now, I'm sitting here and being like, okay, does this mean that the brother's not telling everything that is full and accurate, that maybe Benjamin has another secret? Or is Eli just imagining that this same necklace is here across multiple spots and we're not actually seeing the truth even with that?
Yeah, that's where things I feel like are becoming bits of, yeah, red herrings or things that are getting confused in his mind because he sees Benjamin's brother wearing this
Yeah.
necklace. He remembers that it's the same necklace that Benjamin was also wearing. That's not abnormal. Like, my friend Eddie at one point has this got this necklace that him and
Yeah.
his brother both wear, like dipped in gold, and was like, oh, this is something me and my brother Bobby, we're both gonna have the same necklace. This isn't like something that doesn't happen in real life. So is it possible just the two of them both had the same necklace? Yes, it is possible. Is it possible that the brother is wearing the necklace after Benjamin has passed away? Now he's wearing the necklace? Sure. And I think it all connects as well to the birthmark that Noah has. That's the same pattern as when Eli was doing these compressions with Benjamin. And then all of a sudden there's a bleed that's happening and it's the same pattern. And it's kind of like, is it the same pattern, or
Yeah.
is it just you're remembering what you did to Benjamin when you were a resident? It was an accident, but it was something that stuck with you that you were like, oh man, I could have helped this person. I was trying to help this person, but I made it worse. And then I ended up losing this person.
It's reliving a trauma in a different form. And that's at least how I am choosing to believe a lot of this for the
Yeah,
time being.
because now he's seeing this birthmark on Noah and
Yeah.
worrying that he's losing Noah as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be a fascinating thing to just sort of see how this all plays out from here. Because to me, as much as I'm in the woods on a lot of this, it also still feels like in order to actually get Eli past all this, he does need Noah for something. Like, I do think that these two characters are important to each other. Like, Noah showed up at Eli's place, and unless all of that was a complete lie, there has to be some sort of reason for that. Other than maybe it's just a pure coincidence, doesn't necessarily feel like it. I do think they need each other, but I think the problem is the more they spend time with each other, the worse off the two of them get.
Yeah, there's something with Eli and Noah that Eli, I think, is suppressing. That's going to come out, whether it's Lynn did work with Noah, maybe Noah and, was some sort of inspiration for her book and what she was doing. Because when she had drawn the pictures, Noah was like, that's me,
Mhm.
that's you kind of thing. Like, maybe she's the person who had the connection, and maybe it was something as simple as Noah coming back because she had a connection with him. And then Eli's making it all about himself because that's where he is right now.
I think there's just a lot of interesting stuff to still dive into when it comes to, is Eli making this about himself? Is Eli pursuing something? Can anyone in this world actually help him? But really, really big picture, Before is in the same difficult position right now as Grotesquerie, which we covered earlier this year, which had a finale that made everybody really, really mad. And
I was fine with it.
yeah, I wasn't as mad about it as a lot of people were. A lot of people are currently outside Ryan Murphy's house knocking on the door. But
Yes.
I think the real question mark is just that, how do the producers and writers of these shows see their long-term future? With Grotesquerie, I think it's pretty clear that Ryan and a lot of people who worked on it kind of thought with multiple seasons in mind. So I don't think they felt like a lot of pressure to really give us a clear sense as to what is going on. Before, there's no season 2 right now. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how things unfold. I mean, it seems like based on some interviews, there might be a little bit of closure, but at the same time, who knows with that? But where I'm going with this is that if this is the only season of this show, I do think that at some point they're really enforcing us to take an actual look at what happened. And I think this show needs to deliver that, not just in the last 5 minutes of the finale, but maybe in episode 9, like the start of episode 10, like actually give us a real window into that world so we can process it and kind of deal with it in our own psychological way.
I think season 1 is going to be about Eli dealing with this sort of conversion disorder that's been awakened by the death of his wife with Noah. And that's what we're going to get through, because we have gotten through this much of what's actually happened to Lynn. We've seen the
Yep.
pool. We've seen Eli going to the pool and watching people swimming. We know very little about Lynn's passing for real. Like, we
Yep.
only have Eli's version, and his version's not reliable. It feels like this season is going to be about Eli getting to the end of this season, realizing he's the person with the problem.
Yep.
And then if there's a season two is going to be about him unraveling what his involvement with Lynn's death was or was not. And that's where we're going to get more of Judith Light. Because how do we have Judith Light, who is a treasure
Yeah.
and is such an amazing actress, and she has been in this season all of 10 minutes.
Okay, it's funny you mentioned that, because I kind of did have this idea I was rolling around in my head, because we don't know what's happening the rest of this show. We haven't watched ahead. So
No.
Is there a chance that episode 7 or episode 8, because we've met a little bit of Eli's family here, do you spotlight it on his daughter? And do we actually kind of see a little bit of what happened with Lynn from a different perspective? And what I think could be informative or interesting about this is that wouldn't be the show necessarily giving away the full magic trick, because there's still a lot that would happen that the daughter would not know. But it could also ground the story in a certain reality and also satisfy your need for more Judith Light at the same time.
Yes, it feels like this season is more about the mystery of Eli and what he is suppressing and what he's trying to find out about himself.
Yeah.
If there's a season 2, it feels like that will be more about the mystery of what actually happened to Lynn. If he had involvement, if he didn't have involvement, if Noah saw it, like you were kind of thinking about. It just feels like we're so deep into the season, and it feels like the focus is really about Eli and Noah and less about what happened to Lynn. But there's so much mystery about what actually happened to her. We're not at the pool for no reason.
No, we're not. And that's why my advice, both to myself and to everybody watching this show at this point, is it's okay to not have the answers. And I say this as somebody who tried to be confident Matt for the first half of this video, but it's all right.
Confident Matt.
It is okay. The confident Matt is saying it's all right to surrender yourself to a show. I think one of the reasons that maybe a lot of people are struggling to get into before as a show is just that it's too confusing. We don't know what's going on. And I think that sort of speaks to, in a societal sense, we all kind of have this need or desire to know everything, to be this know-it-all, to be right all the time, which is why I go to social media a lot, and I'm seeing these people just yelling at each other, and it really just feels like these arguments all boil down to, I'm right, no, I'm right, and neither one of them will stop until the other person says that, okay, no, you are right, but it's okay to not be right.
You're right, Matt.
Okay.
Confident Matt.
Am I? Okay, no, but
No, I think your theory is really good. I think that is where we're going with this. It makes the most sense with what has been revealed on the show so far.
I just think it's okay to go into this show, and it's okay to be confused. It's okay to not understand everything. I think it's up to the producers to actually deliver an answer, and it doesn't have to be a full answer, but deliver some sort of answer that gives us some interpretation of things. Things are too vague right now, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be this way at the end of the finale.
No, I think that if this was just a one-off and this was just a mini series, we would have answers on everything. But it feels like this is just a season 1 and that they do want a season 2 with this. So it feels like, for me, I would be really satisfied if they would give us answers on Eli and where he is with it, and him coming to some own realizations about himself and how he's dealt with Lynn's death and everything that's coming together for him. And then if we move into the next season where, maybe we get answers about Eli, but we end on a cliffhanger where he realizes that she didn't die in that bathtub. And then we get to go into season 2 where it's like, okay, well, how did she die? And now that Eli is a little bit more on the ball about things, that he would really be able to follow the breadcrumbs of like, was I there? Like, I know I was at the pool one time where I told her I was going to the pool, but maybe she was at the pool, and he gets to start to go through it all.
1, I would love that. 2, I'm sure it will make a lot of people lose their minds. 3, I don't care because I would love that.
I'm here for the mystery.
I think it would be a really fun mystery to dive into, and it would give season 2 a different flair than season 1.
Yeah.
But that's where we are, coming out of episode 6 of Before season 1. So hit that subscribe button and check out our other Apple TV Plus coverage, including Bad Sisters and Silo, and support us more by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We are covering exclusively in video form there Dune Prophecy. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here next time.